Hello there, my name's Karen Haley and I'm the Environmental Officer at Craig Country Park. When I'm not working, I volunteer for a group called the Northern Ireland Bat Group. This is a charity dedicated to helping bats in Northern Ireland. Now, if somebody finds a bat in their house or they find an injured bat, they would call us and volunteers like me would go out and rescue the bat, make them better and release them again into the wild where they belong. So today we're going to look at the amazing world of bats. When I say I work with bats, some people are a bit horrified. I think it's because they believe all the stories that they've heard about bats, about them turning into Dracula and about them flying under your hair, which we all know that this isn't true. So as this wee talk goes on, we're going to learn a wee bit more about bats, and you'll find out that they're amazing and gentle mammals, and we actually need them. So what are bats then? Well, they're mammals. So we know a mammal has fur and gives birth to live young, and they're warm blooded, which means the outside temperature can affect them. So, same as ourselves, if we get too cold, we shiver, and if we're too warm, we sweat. And we need water as well to survive. So, bats are mammals, but something special about them is they're the only mammal in the world that can fly. Now, some people might say, well, what about a flying squirrel? Flying squirrels don't fly. They can glide from tree to tree, but they don't actually fly. Bats are the only mammal in the world that are capable of true flight. Now, there's over 1,300 different species worldwide, and you can get big bats like the flying foxes, and then you can get the wee bats that we have here. And here in Ireland and the UK, bats eat invertebrates, so things like midges, moths, spiders, beetles as well. So our bats actually act as pest controllers, keeping all the invertebrates under control. Now, bats aren't rodents. Now, a lot of people might say, oh, bats are just rats, we're mice with wings. They're not. They're actually more related to dogs than they are to any other mammal. Now, I like to call them mini dogs with wings. I don't know what you think of the pictures here. They do have dog-like faces. Now, a bat will only have one pup each year and not even every year, unlike rodents, which can have a lot of litters at a time. So another thing that separates bats from rodents is they don't build nests and they don't chew wires or bring in nesting material or bring in food. Bats only want somewhere nice and warm and dry, and then they go out and find their food on the wing in the evenings. Now, bats are needed in the world because they're important pollinators and pest controllers, and we really, really need them. Bats can be found on every continent on Earth except the North and South poles and maybe some remote islands. Bats hibernate in the winter, so they go into a thing called torpor, which is a deep sleep. And it's because there's no insects around in the winter, it's their way of saving energy for spring. So, come March, April, May, they'll start to get hungry and they'll move out of their hibernation roost into their summer roosts. And then June, July, and August is a really busy time of year for anyone who works with bats because that's when the females give birth to their pup and they're most active as well during the summertime. In the autumn, they leave their summer roosts and mating takes place, and they start eating a lot more to prepare for hibernation again before the whole cycle begins again. So take a look at your hand. Now, you have a thumb, four fingers, a wrist, and then you have an elbow and a shoulder as well. Well, if you look at a bat's wing, it is very, very similar to ours, except their fingers are longer. So if we were bats, our fingers would touch the ground and it would be covered in a membrane and we'd be able to fly too. How great would that be? Did you know that bats and the places where they live are protected by law? So if something happens to a bat or the place where it lives, we call this a bat crime. And this could be if someone hurts a bat or destroys the place where they live, like a tree without a license, then the police would have to be called. So here are some of the stories that people believe about bats. We call them batty myths. Now a myth is a made up story, so I'm going to try and explain to you now why they're myths. Now the first one, bats get tangled in your hair. No, they don't. They don't want to get into your hair at all. So when you're out in the evening walking around, you might see bats maybe swoop down low next to you. Now they're not trying to get under your hair, they're just trying to mop up all the insects that are attracted to you. So that's myth one. Bats build nests. No, they don't. All they want is somewhere nice and warm and dry. They hang out during the day and then they fly out in the evening and eat all the midges and moths in your garden. Blind as a bat. We've heard that a lot, and I'm sure yous have too. Bats are actually not blind. They can see just as well as we can, only better. They use echolocation at night, and we're going to explain what echolocation is a wee bit later on. They can actually see in the dark and find their way around. Bet you can't do that. There's 8 species of bat in Northern Ireland, so I'm not going to talk about them all. I'm just going to talk about 2 of them. So the first is the pipistrelle. This is the smallest bat in Northern Ireland, and it's about the size of your little finger. Now, most people, when they see a pipistrelle, they think it's a baby bat, and they're shocked at the size that they really are. Now, the difference between a pup and an adult is the pup doesn't have fur. So if you see a fully furred bat, then it's an adult. Now, don't be shocked at the size. Now, the reason we're focusing on the pipistrelle is because you're most likely to find them around gardens and local parks. So the video I'm going to show you now is my living room, and this is a pipistrelle that we rescued and had to teach it how to fly again. So he got injured, and before we release bats again into the wild, we have to make sure that they can fly okay. So you're going to see a short video now of one of the bats flying around. So here we have a rescued Leisler's bat eating his dinner. The Leisler's bat is the biggest bat that we have in Northern Ireland, and it's roughly about the size of the palm of your hand, so he's not that big. Now he's the first bat to emerge in the evening over all the other bats, so about half an hour after sunset you'll see him flying high above treetops in a local park or woodland. So this is what they look like up close. You can see his eyes and you can see him eating the mealworms. Now we give our rescued bats live mealworms because they're full of fat and protein and it builds up their weight and energy really quickly. So like dolphins, bats use echolocation to find their way around and to hunt for their prey. Now imagine being a bat. It's a woodland, so there's lots of trees. It's dark, and I mean pitch black dark, and you don't have a torch, and you have to find these wee insects, tiny insects, in amongst all these trees. So it's not easy to be a bat. So when they're flying around, they have to use their echolocation, which is they give out this really high pitched sound. We can't hear it, it's called ultrasound, and it bounces off objects, so they're able to tell where they are and where they're going, and they can see trees and they can avoid obstacles, and most importantly they can grab the insects in the dark. So time to have some fun and become a bat. Now we're going to play the bat moth game, and it shows you how echolocation works. So it's going to show you how bats actually hunt for their prey at night. Now you can make your own wings, so you need a set of bat wings and a set of moth wings. So if you have cereal boxes and markers and a few plastic bags and maybe a scarf to act as a blindfold, you can play the game anytime and anywhere you want. So in the pictures you can see what the wings should look like. And then one of these is going to be the bat. Now the bat has to be blindfolded because it symbolises hunting for prey in the dark.
What? That? That?
So why do we even need bats? Well, bats are pest controllers. Did you know that one bat can eat over 3,000 midges in one night? Can you imagine a world without bats, the amount of insects that we would have? Did you know that there's bats in the world that actually give us fruit through pollination? I'm not going to tell you what fruits. I want you to find it out for yourself. So what I want you to do is go to Google and type in what do bats pollinate, and you're going to be shocked at the number of things on the list. Well, there's lots of things you can do to help bats. Number one is tell people that bats are nothing to be feared and not to believe the myths. Planting flowers or even letting a wee bit of grass grow in your garden or even in your school playground can help bats because that attracts insects. So you're making what we call a batty cafe. And learn more about bats as well by visiting the website www.batsni.org.uk. So what's the biggest and smallest bats in the world? Well, the giant golden crown flying fox, clues in the name. He eats figs and leaves and he's really, really important for seed dispersal, so he helps regenerate forests in the Philippines. They're really gentle mammals and their wingspan can reach over 1.5 meters. The smallest bat in the world is Kitty's hognose bat or the bumblebee bat. This wee bat eats spiders and flies. Their body is only 1.1 to 1.3 inches long. He's tiny, so the name again suggests bumblebee bat, size of a bumblebee. Some people believe that bats are a symbol of good luck. So in your activity pack, we show you how to make your own bat totem. The most famous bat of all, Batman. So Bruce Wayne was actually afraid of bats, but once he understood them, he was no longer afraid, and now he even uses the bat as a symbol. So it just goes to show we only fear things that we don't understand. Would you believe some people think bats are scary? Looking at these wee faces, I don't think so. So this sort of proves the theory that bats are just miniature dogs with wings. Do you not think? Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the session, and we really hope you'll pass on the message that bats really are amazing.